In the shadowed realms where the unknown whispers and the fabric of reality stretches, there lies a tale of clandestine exploration and revelation. This is the chronicle of Project 8200, a journey not through space, but through the mind's boundless expanses, orchestrated by the Monroe Institute in collaboration with the most secretive echelons of the U.S. defense apparatus. Central to this odyssey were two figures: Skip Atwater, the handler, a guide through the psychic wilderness, and Joseph McMoneagle, the remote viewer whose visions transcended the mere physical to touch the essence of the cosmos. The Monroe Institute, renowned for its forays into the outer reaches of human consciousness, become a beacon for those seeking to understand the unexplained. Founded on the visionary insights of Robert Monroe, it emerged as a crucible where science and the supernatural converged, exploring the potential of the human mind to transcend the limitations of time and space. Within this context, the Institute's collaboration with the CIA and the Department of Defense through the enigmatic Stargate project marked a bold endeavor into the realm of remote viewing, a discipline that promised a new frontier of intelligence gathering. Project 8200 stood at the heart of this venture, a mission veiled in secrecy, with objectives as enigmatic as the cosmos itself. The project's aim was to uncover the hidden presence of ET bases on Earth, with Atwater steering the course of the explorations. The targets were 4 mountains, each a sentinel guarding profound secrets. The first journey begins at the frozen bastion of Mount Hayes, Alaska, where McMoneagle, under Atwater's careful guidance, perceived what appeared to be an alien stronghold nestled in its icy grasp.
This will be a remote viewing session for 0900 hours, 28 July, 1982. Following is a pre-session briefing for the remote viewer. Today we will be working on a project which we have previously attempted. Our abstract referent target queuing data will be more precisely calibrated today, and I have provided you with a closed envelope which contains a map of today's target area and the specific target area indicated as an X on the map. The required coordinates are then described at the bottom of the page. This is to assist you in accessing the appropriate information. At the beginning of the session, I will read you the coordinates for the one and only target area for today. We'll be working in the present time window. If you have any questions concerning the project for this morning.
Oh.
Alright, you now have 15 minutes in which to prepare yourself for the session. In present time, in the area 63 degrees 39 minutes north, 146 degrees 45 minutes west is the target, which is perceptible.
There's uh, desolate, open range of mountains or high hills.
Correct.
Drawn to a high tower. Wait, it's a series of stanchions, curve, pointed away from something. It's supported on a flat structure. It's on the edge. Something. A line. Impression of something buried.
Within this impression is the target, which is perceptible.
See tubes, like pipes, bowl shapes, containers, masses of electronics, grid work of some kind.
This is the target, which is perceptible.
Pointed up. It's an emitter of some kind. A sense of great power, like power station type power. Uses a great deal of power, energy. Very low frequency feeling.
This is the target, which is understandable.
Getting a lot of the gestaltics. Just keep getting sense of very high energy, pulse type emissions and low frequency ranges, interlaced with high energy type modulations of some elements, like molecules, excited molecules. It's like the air is torn by this fan type emission.
This is the target, which is describable.
Huge ground grid. Forming electronic arena. Seeing very large power input lines from a miniaturized nuclear power plant or power unit. Just this huge grid, this output grid. Appears other tubes buried in the ground. They're coils. Tubes are coils with energy going through them. But it's pulsed, it's not steady, it's pulsed. This emission is shaped like a umbrella. Pulses out like an umbrella opening.
The nature of this energy is perceptible.
Just a minute. Excited electrons. Wait, there's positive charged particles, highly excited, focused in a coherent wave. It's like it's only like a piece of wave, very high energy pulse. Reminds me of fireworks. The way it goes off. It's defensive, not offensive. Like a shield of some kind. Very high charged, very excited, coherent pulses of positive charged particles.
The daily activity at this target is perceptible.
Refinement. Longer coherent output at more power levels, higher power levels. It's never been used on a full output. still. Like still or experimental. Its power, power is weird. It's like, pulse amplified. It's just enormous power output. I don't think it's ever been done. Get a feeling this is a complete new concept for power output.
There is a deep or clandestine purpose of this target that is perceptible.
To get a duality of roles. So primary role is extreme long range, low frequency communications of some kind that can't be jammed. For just can't be jammed. Second role is like peak power outputs for doing high range damage to electronic systems inside the umbrella, passing through the umbrella. Like aircraft. Intelligent guiding systems going through the umbrella are just burned. Sort of like putting up the energy wall output from a nuclear blast without the nuclear effects.
This communication is pointed in a direction which is perceptible.
Spirit. Again, I get a duality of information. I get one direction, primary one direction. secondary. Primary direction is fan shape, and it's east-southeast. Second direction, secondary. It's straight up on a plane, center of the earth. It's also fan shaped. I see a variance in the fan, so it's probably adjustable. It's overlapping another field, another umbrella. Which is west, a little bit south of west from its location. See a string. Beads on a string.
This vector, which is vertical to the plane of the center of the earth, is explorable.
A lot of trouble. It seems to be height based on depth, but I don't understand that. It's like it's bounced off something deep. It can go very high though, theoretically. I don't think it's been tested high. It's just been tested low powers. Tested low power, it successfully performs its primary function. It's not really been tested on secondary function. Starting to lose this.
This is the end of the session.
Okay, before I describe these pictures I drew, I have to make a statement. You have to bear with my descriptions and everything and what they lack, because I find a lot of difficulty in describing any of this because I have never ever seen anything that even remotely resembles any part of this target. This target is, I've never seen anything like it. It's just not something you can describe. It's like walking me into a place that I have no familiarity at all with. I mean, I don't even recognize the screws and bolts in this thing. It's just completely off the wall as far as a target. So I have nothing to relate it to. So I have to just present it as I envisioned it.
What do you mean by
view.
off the wall?
It's all brand new. It's never existed before. This is a prototype of something, some complete new concept. It's like asking a aborigine who has never seen an automobile to crawl inside an automobile and then describe in his terms what an automobile is, when he has no terms for screws and bolts and seat covers and windows and glass and metal Even the most rudimentary parts of this thing he has no terms for. That's kind of like the position I'm in. I've seen something I have not even rudimentary terms for as far as other than gestaltic concept. And you're asking me to draw this, so that's why my drawings aren't going to be very good. Given that that's true, page 1 is, I have a bunch of water, land, ice, and all these general things written in here. This is generally a very desolate area. And I drew in the mountain range. I wrote mountains. This is a whole range of mountains that extends for thousands of miles. So that'll give you an idea of the scale at which I'm drawing here. And I sort of put an X where I perceive the target to be. Going to the target, and I believe that the target's placed deep in this mountain range, in this desolate area, in a way, A, that it's virtually almost impossible to discover its exact location. B, if it was discovered and you were to nuke it, you would probably have to waste every nuke you own to get to it, because the mountains actually would shield it from all kinds of effect. So it's put there with great deliberation, you know, as far as hardening and that sort of thing. Page 2 is what I perceive to be a grid pattern with some kind of a suspended plate or emission type device over it. Underground tubes feeding into this with some tunnels of some kind, and some oval or ball-shaped objects that are very large and very deep in the ground. And this whole thing is below ground, and it's all powered by a high output atomic power unit. And I'm saying power unit versus power station because I get a sensation like this power unit's only for this. It doesn't power anything else. Okay. So it's like I wrote portable. I hate to use that.
I'm inquisitive about your choice of atomic as well.
It's the only thing that provides the power that this thing eats. This thing uses power, like it's just doesn't use it for long periods of time. It uses it for pulses measurable in thousandths of seconds. But the power output that it uses like a massive amount of power, and the only thing it can provide it is an atomic plant of some sort.
Okay.
But it's not a major power station atomic plant, but it is a power plant.
On the scale of what we know as 3 Mile Island, it isn't like that.
No.
It is something considerably smaller.
That could be constructed and carried, could be constructed in one place, broken down and reassembled.
All right. Now,
that kind of a power unit.
Now, again, I would like to take the opportunity to interrupt you right here rather than wait till you're through with your descriptions.
Okay.
Because there's something that is relevant here. At one point in your prelude to your descriptions, you state, I don't recognize this, and I have a lack of vocabulary. Yes. With that in mind, I would like to address the word atomic power unit as a choice of vocabulary.
Let's change that. It's not your standard power plant. What we're talking about is something that deals in physics. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not your 3 Mile Island atomic power plant. You know, okay, I'm talking myself into a circle here, and I'm trying to explain my way out. Let me reiterate what I'm trying to say here. I wrote down atomic power unit. What I'm talking about is the entire nature of this target, okay, includes some form of high energy power that's based on physics. The only kind I know of is atomic. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly what it is. I do know that whatever this power is, it's based on physics, and it's an integral part of this grid that I drew, and these tunnels and these ovals in the ground and that sort of thing. One can't exist without the other. And it's an enormous amount of power output. And when I think of in terms of how much power output, I'm thinking in terms of output of only durations in thousandths of seconds. 10 to the minus question mark, whatever. But I'm also thinking in terms of, I keep getting this impression, and it's just an impression, of the power outputs equal to the multiple of the power input, whatever that means,
All right.
It's, if you remember in my tape, I said the distance up is relative to the distance down, and I don't understand what that means. I'm just saying that's an impression I get.
Now, if I can state to you what I think you said here, I think that you said that you have some sort of a power production unit which is small in relationship to the quantum power that it produces. And because of that relationship, the only thing that comes to your mind is an atomic power plant would be small in relationship to the power it puts out.
To be even more specific than that, I wrote specific atomic power unit, okay? Atomic meaning physics-oriented.
All right.
Okay, not atomic as we
Nuclear
associate it to
fission
nuclear
or
fission, okay? So what I'm talking about is, this is some kind of extraordinary power unit.
All right.
Powering some extraordinary type of whatever,
All right.
okay? And it's all an integral thing.
At any rate, it doesn't run off of Hoover Dam power lines
No.
or solar energy.
No. Page 3 then is how I view the output from this thing. And the best way to describe it is it looks like a huge umbrella or a half ball that comes up with a target area centered in the middle. And the full umbrella gives an idea of the effective range of this thing, this whatever it is. Out of that, there is a selectable quadrant of protective shield, I call it, or a piece of the pie that can be cut out of this umbrella. And it can be widened or narrowed, and it can be raised or shortened based on whatever function you're going to do. And I said that I sense it has a duality of function. One is communications in a very low frequency range, and the other is the exact opposite extreme. High excitation of some molecular unit that's pushed out to the effective maximum effective range and creates a shield through which any electronics devices pass through it would be permanently altered. It's the best I can come up with from a concept standpoint. Page 4 is how I perceive that this shield, or this vector in the shield, is done, and it's through pulses of 10 to the minus whatever seconds that are individually pinpointed on the shield's matrix, and they're walked one behind the other in a zigzag or back and forth pattern, and they're done so rapidly that you get an impression of a wall of these excited molecular things, when in fact they're individual pinpricks all collectively forming a wall. That's the best I can do. I don't know what this thing is. All I know is that it eats a lot of power, makes a lot of power, and throws up a very high energy shield or a very high energy output. And I did see a string of them like beads at one point in the session, and I don't understand that. I may be wrong about the vectoring of how it's aimed, you know, because I do a 180 flip-flop sometimes in my directions. So you should be aware of that. But other than that, that's all I got.
Okay. What kind of an emotional content do you have about the session?
I don't get a feeling for an aggressive nature of this target. I get a feeling of a defensive nature for the target.
All right. I have one other question,
Okay.
which again is one of those sensitive questions. I do not want to add or suggest anything to your descriptions of the target, but bring up a subject. At no time did you discuss occupancy.
No, okay. I'm glad that you did ask that, because I don't sense the presence of individuals at this target, other than possibly a caretaker type presence. I almost get a feeling like this is just put there and sealed off, which is really strange, but it's like a great deal of care was used in putting it in very secretively. It was then sealed off, and people went away, and they waited a considerable amount of time before turning it on. And now that it's turned on, it's a question of waiting until some transference takes place, whatever that means.
All right.
It's just sitting there waiting for this transference,
All
like
right.
a relay.
I have no further questions. Do you have anything you would like to add at this point?
I get one of those Star Wars feelings, like a sinister feeling, like Darth Vader feeling. But other than that, nothing.
Okay.
From the cold of Alaska, the quest shifted to the arid heart of Australia, to Mount Zeil. Here, amidst the solitude of the desert, the duo unveiled visions of other strange architectures buried within the earth.
This will be a remote viewing session for 1000 hours, 3 August 1982. This morning we'll be working on a project, having a new target here that we have not looked at before. You'll be using the abstract reference system of target viewing, providing you with present time and a set of coordinates. Your job will be to report the target site located at the coordinates. Do you have any questions about your task, please?
No.
Alright, if you have no questions here, at this time I provide you with a closed envelope. In the envelope is a map on which is marked with a X the target site, and at the bottom of the map is written the coordinates of the target site. I provide you with this closed envelope now to assist you in locating and describing today's target. You now have 20 minutes. Unless you put there is. In the area, 22 degrees, 30 minutes south, 132 degrees, 24 minutes east. Is the target, which is perceptible.
First impression is white boxes. Flat hilltop. Splash of color on a solid background.
Area surrounding the hilltop is perceptible.
Show a lot of overlay. That. See a yawning entrance to a underground cave. Black doorway. A little white dish shape. Very white.
This is the target, which is perceptible.
Just a wait. There's nothing coming yet. Keep seeing a hump of, like a smooth dome of concrete. It's a cover. So like a dish shape. See a black hole. A ribbon of concrete going into the hole. The storage site of some kind. I see just a collage of things buried. Coils. A lot of heavy concrete. Keep getting a lot of overlay. Like, I keep fantasizing things. Keep seeing boxes of electronics. That's all I'm getting.
The size of this area is perceptible.
Small. Approximate size is 300-meter circle. It's like it's all capped concrete cover.
The area inside the cover is perceptible.
Can't break it down. Keeps getting mixed up like a collage of things, electronics. and not electronics, pulsing patterns. Like a glow. Coils. Like curlicues. Getting thought forms of overlay, what I think are overlay. Flashing off on overlaid tangents. Keep envisioning control centers. Keep getting visions of all the command and control centers that I've ever been in. It's a collage.
Objects in the target site are responsible.
Just a minute. I'm having trouble with a lot of overlay here, just a minute. Most important objects look like spools with points. Stacked points up. Dark green or black. Having trouble with the length because they're in crates. I don't know. I keep getting that small nuclear feeling again. Like small power output of some kind.
Present activity in the target is susceptible.
Sense feeling of control. Protection. And waiting. Very little activity, very few people. It's caretaker type.
Understanding that the target is possible.
Getting a picture of an umbrella again. This one's different. It's like on water. So like an umbrella that's not deployed yet. That's wrong. It's deployed but waiting. It's a protective umbrella envelope. Storage site. Can't shake the feeling of storage.
What is stored is perceptible.
Keep flashing the protective umbrella. It's like an instantaneous umbrella. Small nuclear power device. The feeling for caretaker.
What is protected by the umbrella is perceptible.
Something national force. That I get all this overlay of command and control centers, like defensive command and control centers. And I'm getting that same feeling of more concept than something fixed. It's like we're talking concept, because this is all waiting. Just waiting.
The area which surrounds this perception.
See, like, now I see a volcano, large volcano, green jungle, city, a lot of water, compression of water all around. To the south there's water, and east and west, northwest. So many squares of green. But it's a place with seasons. So I want to add one thing. There's a big city close by. So I want to add. Okay, drawings, page 1. This is the area that I perceive. I got bracket rivers on two sides and a sea to the south, and what equates to probably 3 mountain ranges. The largest mountain range in the upper left is where I perceive the target to be. Now this whole thing might be 180 degrees out of phase. So you would have to flip it over and look at it, holding it up to a light to see how it really is. So I do that a lot. Page 2 is the concrete cover that's under a layer of earth. This concrete cover covers this area, this target area. I just keep getting this impression of very hardened concrete, as if it's protected,
Okay,
heavily
do I
protected.
understand that the target areas you perceive then is not above the ground?
No, it's not above the ground, it's underground. And then I was perceiving an entry to the underground area, which I drew on page 3. And that's like back under an overhang type of area. And it's just a A-shaped hole in the wall, so to speak. And I could just define like an edge of roadway or concrete or something right up next to the edge of the entry. So I don't know if that's a set of rails coming out of the entry or what it is. I would hate to label it. It's just a defined edge that you can just perceive going in
Okay,
there.
does this entryway then relate to drawing number 2 on the concrete?
In some way, but I don't know how. And page 4 are these spools with coils and the shiny pointed tips. And I drew a stick figure next to it for an idea of scale. And this in some way is associative to the white boxes in white dish shapes. And it's all associated to the small atomic power type unit that I keep envisioning. And that in turn is associated to my overlay, conceptually speaking, this idea of command control type centers. And I don't know how that overlay. I know that overlay is important, but I don't know how it associates the target. But I do have to say, as far as the caretaker force goes, that's all they are. The force of people is not even necessary to operate this, whatever this is. This will operate standalone. And again, I get this umbrella feeling, and I get a feeling like this umbrella in this case covers a lot of water for some reason. And that the umbrella is some kind of a protective umbrella that's emitted in a pulse-shaped fashion, because I keep seeing glowing pulses whenever I envision this, and I just don't have anything to reference it to.
Okay, reference the caretaker personnel. Do you have visuals of them, or?
No, I just perceive like a watchdog force or something there.
But no visuals?
No.
Okay.
That's all I have.
What kind of emotional impact does this have?
Oh, it's a very, I have a very sinister feeling for this target, and you know, it's like the old Darth Vader feeling, and I don't know how to explain that.
In one way, you say it's not, it doesn't threaten anything, it seems to be defensive.
I know, but it's a sinister feeling about it. It's not threatening now, but it's sort of like putting a snake in a box. You know he's in the box, but he's not threatening you.
Okay.
That kind of a feeling. That's all I got.
The narrative then weaves through the mystical landscapes of Spain to the enigmatic Mount Perdido. It was here that McMoneagle sensed a pulsating energy, a beacon calling to the stars.
This will be a remote viewing session for 0900 hours, 10 August 1982. Following is a pre-session briefing to the remote viewer. Today we will be working on a project that we previously attempted. Our abstract reference target queuing data will be more precisely calibrated today. I have provided you with a closed envelope which contains a map of today's target area and specific indication on the map of that target area. It's a little cross exactly over the target area. The required coordinates are then inscribed at the bottom of the page. Along with the name of the area. At the beginning of the session, I will read you the coordinates for the one and only target area for today. We will be working in the present time window. Do you have any questions concerning the project for this morning?
No.
Alright, you now have 15 minutes to prepare yourself for the session. In present time, in the area, 42 degrees 40 minutes north, 0 degrees 2 minutes east, is the target, which is perceptible.
Okay. Gray rocks, fog, see sheep.
In present time, in the area, 42 degrees 40 minutes north, 0 degrees 2 minutes east, is the target, which is perceptible.
A natural cave, cleft in rocks, starts out vertical and goes horizontal. It's a white box, upside down plate, spike driven through it. Wires going out like an octopus. A white box. I think it's kind of a grid.
This target is perceptible.
A dormant feeling. It's waiting. It's in a footprint of some kind. Some connection with some kind of a wait a minute.
This connection is observable.
Getting a upside down cone, huge, extending upwards, got edges, interconnecting points like a spider web. Impression of relay, impression that it catches something and relays it back. Stream high frequency relay, transponder type effect. Makes it like accurate point of the cone. Position of the cone is important.
Objects in the target are perceptible.
Isolated white box. Electronics. Spiderweb grid. Spike. Grid's buried. It's got a portable power pack. Location has to do with weather. So I got an impression that has to do with weather. Height. Height's important.
A time of target activity is perceptible.
It's not fully active yet. Impression that it's going to be full-time active sometime in the future. Perhaps a year less. Being tested. Keep seeing multiple points in this huge cone with a fixed point in space, tying it all together. Pulse lines being targeted down, different angles being measured.
The function of the target is perceptible.
Pinpoint accuracy. Get an impression of triangulation and receiving extreme high wave output, bouncing it off at transponders, developing a pinpoint accuracy and location, mapping something. It's an impression more of concept than visual. Still get this impression of a string of beads in the sky circling the earth. You need to be high for clarity. Impression is ground location is more important to a larger system. That's function.
Target occupants are perceptible.
Don't get any people.
Occupants are describable.
Don't get any people. Just automated machinery.
Time of target construction is perceptible.
2 to 2.5 years ago. So it was begun. Completed maybe a year ago. I'm just sitting and waiting for the rest.
Activity of target construction is perceptible.
It's constructed elsewhere and flown in. See it being in place by a handful of people. Helicopters. It's a very rugged mountain range. Kind of desolate.
Vehicles of transport are perceptible.
It's helicopters. Not large, but small. That's all we got. Boxes being brought in by helicopters.
This is the end of the session.
Okay, drawings. Page 1 is a picture of the cobweb impression, which I have labeled receive. I feel like this is situated in a footprint. In other words, it's being targeted with some kind of an emitter, and that's a receiver. I have a cable going down into a cleft in the rocks on this particular location, and in the cleft in the rocks is like a control black box and a power pack. Located in the center is a small dish or disc type shape with a spike in it, and that's a very high frequency emitter, and it emits straight up. And there's a necessity that this be located on an extremely tall mountaintop or desert high range of mountains. And I just get an impression of, I say that because I get an impression of the need for height for clarity, and that it won't be screwed with in any way, blocked or jammed or shielded. Page 2 is what I call a picture of the Earth, and we'll make a dotted line, which is the equator. Then I put my string of beads, or satellite type forms, that go around the Earth, approximately the equator. And from one of the beads, I have straight lines going to what I call single target sites. And then I get a bunch of angles off of that. I don't know what that means, but I get an impression of a requirement for extreme accuracy. That's more of a concept, incidentally. Page 3 is the there's like 3 mountain ranges, and they all come together from country 1, country 2, and country 3. And I put a red asterisk where this particular target site's located.
Are you saying this mountain range is a boundary between countries?
Absolutely. Between 3 countries, as a matter of fact. I get that impression. I also get the impression this isn't the highest mountain in the area. It just happens to be one of the most desolate mountaintops. There are higher mountaintops, but they're not desolate. You know, they're used for something else. there's in regards to the helicopter, I get the feeling that there's helicopters involved in this particular target, but I'm not sure now whether or not they actually brought it up there. I get an impression like it was man-packed in, but that the helicopters are there either searching for it or overflying it or doing something with it.
Okay, I have a question to ask you. Reference this whole package of targets that we're doing.
Yeah.
Back on the first target we did, you had the feeling that this target was of some technology that you couldn't explain.
That's correct.
Do you have a similar feeling here?
This is really this is all off the wall to me. My raw impressions are that each one of these target sites is like a different spoke in a wheel. And that's a bad example, but it's like a different part of a jigsaw puzzle. And each one is dormant. It does nothing unless it's commanded to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then all it does is transfer, or it just transfers something. But it's an integral part of this whole cobweb of jigsaw puzzle. I get just an overwhelming feeling of the big 3C, command, control, and communications. And I also get an overwhelming feeling of an absoluteness and accuracy requirement here.
Okay. I'd like to quote to you from a previous session on another target and see if you have a similar opinion about this target that we've just looked at.
Okay.
I quote from your drawing narrative, quote, "It was like a great deal of care was used in putting it in very secretively. It was then sealed off, and people went away, and they waited a considerable amount of time before turning it on." Close quote. In referencing considerable amount of time, the amount of time that you talked about here seemed to be short to me, and I'm questioning in your own mind, what did you mean and how do you feel about this target?
Well, I think it's a perception of what short and long is. Considerable amount of time to me is these 2.5 years or 2 years that this thing's been put in. I think each one of these individual targets, they're very similar, but they're designed for the particular place in which they lie. And each one was constructed many years ago in a chain of events. Okay, like they constructed A 10 years ago, B target 9 years ago, C target 8 years ago. And as they were being constructed, they were being in place. This particular target was constructed 2 to 2.5 years ago. It was in place a year ago. It's not turned on. Or it's turned on, but it's lying dormant. They're all lying dormant, but they're all turned on that are installed. They're still going in. I get that impression. Or else they have to be turned on. They're all in and have to be turned on, some of them.
Okay. Okay, that clears that up for me. I was wondering what you had meant by that and how you compared it here with years.
It's like this thing's like a cobweb. This is just a gut feeling now, but this is a perception, a concept perception.
Mm-hmm.
If you equate this to a cobweb, every single angle in a cobweb represents a location on the cobweb. And I get an impression that the spider has not turned his whole cobweb on yet. But when he does, then it'll just be rattle the web anywhere. That kind of effect.
Okay.
That's all I get.
Okay, fine.
Lastly, the Odyssey carried them to Africa, to the spiritual precincts of Mount Inyangani in Zimbabwe. Known for its ethereal allure, the mountain revealed through McMoneagle's remote viewing an alien base intertwined with the land's ancient lore.
This will be a remote viewing session for 0900 hours, 27 July 1982. Following is a pre-session briefing to the remote viewer. I have a new project here, and this project involves 4 locations. We will be working these 4 locations, not necessarily all today. If we get all the information we need from one location today, then we'll go ahead and move to another location, and move to another location, and move on. But if we don't get through all 4 locations today, that's all right. We can come back to it as a project. The locations will be identified to you in geographic coordinates in terms of degrees and minutes. We'll be using the language of target queuing that we discussed yesterday. Do you have any questions concerning the work for this one?
No.
20 minutes to prepare yourself for this morning's session. In present time, at 63 degrees, 39 minutes north, 146 degrees, 45 minutes west, is an area which is perceptible.
A large, wide, flat valley. So kind of like foothill mountains. So it's right. Sense of water.
degrees, 39 minutes north, 146 degrees, 45 minutes west.
hitting barren ground, flat barren ground, center of valley.
Next target. In present time at 23 degrees 30 minutes south, 132 degrees 24 minutes east is an area which is perceptible.
Horizontal line of water. Land, thick jungle of tall trees. Narrow, like narrow water.
(23 degrees 30 minutes south, 132 degrees 24 minutes east.
Narrow channel of water and jungle.
Next target. In present time at 42 degrees 40 minutes north, 0 degrees 2 minutes east is an area which is perceptible.
See blue with a brown speck. Black. See two large brown rocks. On a blank.
42 degrees 40 minutes north, 0 degrees 2 minutes east.
Flat. Flat emptiness. 2 rocks.
Next target. In present time, at 18 degrees, 18 minutes south, 32 degrees, 54 minutes east, is an area which is perceptible.
Hot beige. Sand. Rivers of sand. Impression of heat and brownness.
degrees, 18 minutes south, 32 degrees, 54 minutes east.
This impression of Sahara or sand. Flat and brown. Dunes. That's all I get.
I have nothing for you.
The Monroe Institute's involvement in Project 8200, under the stewardship of Atwater and the visionary sight of McMoneagle, opens a window to a world where the lines between the physical and the metaphysical blur. The journey set against the backdrop of the Stargate project is not merely an exploration of space, but a deep dive into the possibilities of human consciousness, an invitation to ponder our place in the vast cosmos. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Whispers of Myth. And remember to like and subscribe.